What's up, everyone? So today we're going to see if the Grandpa's Weeder is the perfect tool for you and whether or not it's worth purchasing. So let's get into how this product works and see what it's all about and whether or not it's worth buying. So first of all, let's go over it. It has the instructions here: center, press, and lean. Okay, so you center the weed in here. The way this mechanism works is it'll automatically lean forward this way when gravity's suspending it like that. So it'll automatically open up. You put your foot here, you press it in, and then you lean it. So when this is on the ground, you'll basically bend it like that, and it clamps the pincher shut, grabbing your weed, and then you rock it back out of the hole. And then you got this little fork here in case you got some little stubborn ones that won't get grabbed by those forks. You just slide it into them and then you can pop them out. Okay, so we'll see how this works. Overall build quality, this is a casting of some sort. It's pretty heavy. Okay, it has its branding on there, and of course the instructions, which is nice because you always have them. And it's actually reasonably tall. It's about to my belly button in height, so perfect height, not too tall where it's in your way. It's actually a pretty good height. So far so good on the build quality. And what you get, you have a Phillips here, Phillips head that screws that through the wood, so it's just a wood screw. I mean, that could have probably been a different option, but we'll see how long it lasts. So as far as the action's concerned, it's riveted. So you got a rivet on this end, and then it's mushroomed out on this end. So it gives you a consistent friction. There's a little bit of looseness in it, so you could hear it when I shake it. And as you can see, there's no paint on that side, and I would assume there's no paint on this side. And there you can see a little bit. And that's probably so that way these two sides don't fuse together. They probably remove the paint, so that way the weight of this lever opens up every single time. It doesn't bind on itself. If it starts rusting, or you feel like this action isn't opening up by itself, you could always spray some WD-40 or lubricant in it. So one of the reasons why I got this Grandpa's one over some of the other brands is because some of the other brands actually work really well, but the thing is, the blade or the fork is actually made out of sheet metal, and unless it's like a little bit more substantial and hardened, that sheet metal fork actually would bend. So if they didn't use actual good materials, they were twisting and bending, and then it renders the tool useless. And there was quite a few pictures on Amazon that showed the actual forks being twisted and bent. So keep that in mind when deciding on which one you would get. And the reason why I like those ones that were made out of sheet metal, or some of them, is because they had a plunger in the center. So instead of having to reach down and take it out, you just push the button on the top of the handle and it would force that weed out. So I recommend maybe they incorporate something like that into this better, heavier built design. Okay, so let's start by tackling these weeds here. These are straight up. Okay, and so what we're gonna do is center this on the weed, like such. Okay, and then we're just gonna press into it, like so. And then we're gonna rock it back, like that. And as you can see, it pulled out the entire root. One thing to note is when you rock it back, you really want to keep pressure on it, on this pivot, and push down as you're rocking back, so that way it doesn't slip out of these jaws. So when using this, I noticed it sheared it. So as you can see, it just sheared these leaves right off. So I didn't actually pull them out. This I might need to plunge in deeper. So it might need to dig deeper into the root before I can pry it out like a pry bar. Let's do some more of these weeds and see consistency. So as you can see, wedging the root in between there is the way to do it. So it has to be lined up with the center of that stalk, or else you're gonna have a problem with this jaw holding on to these elongated branches. Okay, so it has to get wedged in between, and then you really want to clamp down on this. If you don't clamp down on it enough when you're camming, if you're not putting a lot of back pressure on this back side over here, like that, and prying it out, pushing down and prying out at the same time, this might slip. So just be aware that certain roots will slide through this jaw if it's only on one stem branch. If you're able to clamp it sideways like that and get it at an angle, you probably have a better chance of getting it out, because now it's pinching it with the jaw itself. Okay, now let me see if it takes out this weed. So I put it in the center. This is probably a few different ones. Maybe it's one single one, we'll see. But that's the center of at least one of them, and I'll try to pull that out. So press it down, pry back on it, and that whole thing just came out. So that's one entire weed, and it has these stickers on them. So as you can see, that root came out, left the hole, and all those stickers on them. You see all the stickers. So that one worked actually really nice, and I think this one would be consistent with the removal. So I don't think this is a one-time thing on this one. I think this one will come off and pull these out really easy, because the roots are big and bulky. The way everything is, it kind of grips into it. Okay, so I'm gonna pull out these now, since we already know they don't work, which I have here. And as you can see, it went and flew right through it, just because these are thin, so it's not able to grab easily. Let me see if I could grab a better hold on it. There. So eventually it pulled it out with a few tries, but as you can see, this root is so thin that unless you grab it in between these jaws sideways like that, you're gonna have a problem gripping it with a fork. So maybe coming in at an angle on some of these and then prying it out might work better for these thinner ones. So for this one, I came in sideways. As you can see, it's angled. And let me try to pull it out. Well, that wasn't fair. Get that out. Let me try again. It wasn't fair because I didn't put enough pressure on it when I was prying it out. Okay, so that worked a little bit better. Now that it was at an angle like this and I was able to pry it out, pushing pressure on this lever here. But as you can see, this one had a bigger root, but I did grip it sideways. Okay, so these thinner ones, try going in sideways and camming it. So as you can see here, this larger weed was able to be removed just because it was able to grip way more of the stock. Okay, and if it's able to grip it, you're able to pull it out. These smaller ones like this, the thin stuff, it's not real good at doing that unless you come in sideways and try to work it sideways. These are pushing it, so unless they're real girthy, you got to come in sideways on those as well. So these types of weeds, I was able to get it out. As long as you aim for the center of all these larger ones, it's able to pull it out no problem. So if it's a clump, you're good to go. If it's not a clump, you're gonna have a hard time with this style puller just because of the design. Okay. And as you can see, it's in there quite good, but look how large that root is. Multiple tap roots going in there, but it was able to grab on this clump to get it out. So one thing you got to keep in mind when using this product is it does pull out holes of dirt. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind, is you might have to shake off the dirt and put it back in. Okay, so I'm going to see if it could take out this type of plant, whatever this is. I'm sure if I took a picture of it and searched it with the AI tool, it'd pull it up, but I don't care enough about this, what type it is, because I'm pulling out the whole thing. So these are usually filled with water and they pop apart easily. Okay, so let's see if it actually will work. So I dug it in there, cammed it out, and as you can see, it pulled out the whole thing, but it pulled out the plug of dirt as well. Same thing in there. Okay, let's see if it works on this type of weed. Okay, this is hard pan, really hard. I cultivated this all up and it turned into hard pan again, so horrible ground. As you can see, I'm not all the way down in there just because it's that hard. Put all my weight into it, can't go all the way in. We'll see if it pulls it up. So it was able to pull it up. As you can see, all the dirt's falling out of it. So it does pull out these grass, weeds, whatever they are, with this crap on it. So it pulls them out, but it pulls them out in chunks because they're clustered. This pole bends a little bit. It doesn't break. It's bamboo, I believe. So as you can see, it clustered, pulled it. I think got a deep root of some sort. As you can see, pulled that out. So here's some crabgrass real quick. So as you can see, all this is filled up with weeds. Of course, it's not compressed, but it's filled up nonetheless. And that's a full-size garbage can. The length of the weeder handle. So that's quite a bit in there. So I washed it off, just get all the dirt off. And out of the whole trash can, about, I'd say 3/4 of a trash can, not stuffed in, but filled up. This is the wear and tear on the device so far. So just the tips, you can see a little silver. That's because all the paint came off on the tip. Plowing into the hard pan and stuff. It was definitely better when the dirt was wet versus doing hard pan, just because it was able to grip the dirt with the weed, especially if it was not a big old clump of weeds. And it was a singular weed or a long taproot. It was definitely better when it was wet. But that being said, when it was dry and it was hard pan, you didn't have to shake off the dirt out of the clump, because the hard pan or the sand would just slide right through the fingers and, you know, back onto the floor without you having to do much. So all in all, I'd say that's minimal wear on the device. Not too bad, actually. It's not thinning out, it was just the paint. So that's to be expected. And then of course on the tips, a little bit on the tips, a little bit on the bottom, but not very much. Okay, so just to give you some context of what I pulled out, as you can see, this is a pretty long handle in length. I don't know, maybe about 4 feet long. I didn't measure it, but this pile of weeds here, I pulled them all out with that. So it does pull out a variety of weeds. As long as you could grab a hold of it, it pulls them out no problem. So for the verdict, do I recommend this product? It depends on what you're doing, okay? First of all, if you have thick rooted weeds, something that's substantial with the root, or even the stalks are girthy, then this is going to work well for you. And it speeds up the process. It beats being down on your knees. If you had anything that was thinner and more, I guess, malleable or floppy as far as the weed type is concerned, like this guy over here, like this, like, see how it just flops? It will not do these well. Keep in mind, it will pull these out, but it will not pull them out easily. Like, as you can see, just pulling on them, I broke the root in here just by pulling it on it by hand. So that tool will actually dig out a lot of it, allowing you to grab some of this, but it still tears it just because it's floppy. It doesn't grip well. So some of the changes that could be made is making this foot here longer, because I noticed on some of these it pulled out these no problem. These are a long root, they're way longer than the fork, and they're about the same length as this lever here. But the stuff that's like a bush like this was getting tangled within other weeds that were nearby, and having a longer claw out here, or pry bar, it would allow you to pull that away from all that stuff without actually having to go down there and, you know, wiggle it like side to side trying to pull it out away from the other weeds. Another upgrade that I would recommend is maybe having a fork in the middle of some sort, where this was like a 3-fork thing. So instead of 4, maybe one in the middle with the bar going across it, like maybe somewhere right here, not all the way in front, closing this off because it won't probably dig as good into the harder stuff. So maybe something about right here would allow you to actually pinch on the thinner stuff, but that would have to be, you know, looked at as far as the design is concerned. Also, I do like how this is wide, so it grips around the root if you go straight down, but I realized coming in from the side like this, I didn't have to be as precise, and gripping it, as you can see, this is what it looks like. It looks like a beak. So coming in from the side, at least I grabbed something across this plane versus being in line with it. So that was a technique that actually helped out a lot on these taller stock weeds, especially if they had thorns and like little pokies like this that get in your sock and stuff if you're not wearing pants. So that would be a good idea, is to utilize this with a different technique, or whatever technique works best for you. Also, as you can see when gripping it, this prong stays straight, this one cantilevers forward, and then you only got that small little tip. Maybe if they made this like an L shape here where this could be flat, then you might be able to grab some of the thinner stuff instead of it coming to a tip like that. So if this kind of like dog-legged down flush with this and then went straight, then you might be able to tackle a few more sized weeds. Okay, I do like how this is automatic open, so just the weight of this, when doing it vertical, it does open itself up, which is nice. Also, I wish they incorporated some of the other weed puller designs, because I noticed some of these weeds got stuck in between this fork here, and you'd have to manually do it. Well, if it has these thorns or these little pokies, it became a hassle if you don't wear gloves. So that's a concern. But if they incorporated something with a rod going down the center with the flat right here, or something where when you push on the rod, it just pushes those weeds straight out, that would be really appreciated if they incorporated a design like that. One other downfall to any fork style, or I would say any of, you know, weed puller tool, is it pulls out clumps of dirt with it, so you'll have holes. I wish there was a way for it to, you know, kind of shake that off. I don't know if there would be a way to do that, but maybe if they hooked up a water hose attachment to squirt it with the little tube, so that way all the water blows through it. Maybe have a tube that hooks up to your water hose. I don't know, maybe something to look into myself and design around, so that way you don't have to sit there and shake off the dirt. Usually this hard pan stuff, the sandy stuff, falls right off, but I noticed like stuff like over there in my grassy area, it did take out clumps of dirt. So this is what I mean by clumps of dirt. It did remove large sections of it. One other thing, when using this thing sideways, the handle's long enough as is, but it's nicer if it was longer, because when coming in sideways, I did have to bend down a little bit to kind of wedge it in there. So maybe if this was like 2 feet longer, that would work out great for sideways action. I know it wasn't designed for that, but just something to think about. If it's a problem, you could always do it yourself by unscrewing this and getting a larger or a longer pole, maybe like a broom pole or something. So another design upgrade that they can make is add some teeth on those forks, because as you can see, it could slide through there, right? And it has to grip on the very tips of these jaws. If it goes in here, it'll just pull right out. So that's why I like going sideways, because as you can see, if I go sideways with this, it kind of grips it somehow, in some fashion. It will grip it no matter what, and it's pulling on it sideways. So even if it's slipping through, it's still at an angle, so you got more surface area, and then you're biting across this area, so eventually you'll have the tip actually gripping down on it. But if there was some serrations here, or some like steps where it could dig into the root or dig into the plant, whatever it is, for it to always have grip no matter what, without having to apply too much weight on this lever, because some of these stubborn ones, you actually got to apply quite a bit of force down on this lever to keep it gripped, so it doesn't pull through and slide through this fork. So that's going to complete today's video on the Grandpa's Weeder. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see content like this and other content I'll be posting in the near future, consider subscribing. Until next time, I'll see y'all in the next one as I tackle all the rest of these weeds and then the ones on the other side of the fence. But I made a pretty good impact in about 30 minutes of filming, maybe about 45 minutes of filming and trying to pull the weeds at the same time. But I think this whole section would have went way faster if I didn't record. Maybe I could get this in about 10 minutes.